Hi, transitioners family. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are watching us. I have come with another one of the crazy ones, the one I hosted in the last video. This is a part 2 of the next one. These are my friends from Kenya, and today we are hosting Joseph, Evangelist Joseph, and he's going to introduce himself. He says hello to you guys, and then we go straight into his story. Joseph, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. My name is Joseph. I'm a Kenyan Somali. Stay in Kenya. A psychologist, my profession, and I love Christ. So I'm an evangelist. Yeah, and I'm happy to be in the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, welcome, welcome. I think some of you are shocked to hear an evangelist with a Somali. So just get comfortable and listen to what Joseph has to say. He has a very powerful story that got me connected. The last time I checked when we were in Kenya, he had become my son, but now he calls me sister. I don't know what is happening. He's some wonderful guy. He's a member of my family as far as I know, because we've really bonded, and he's a person who loves the Lord and who has grown up to be a strong young man. So Joseph, what was growing up like?
Well, growing up for me was very difficult. Makio, I was born in a country out of Kenya, and my mom came with me to Kenya. So I was born in my home country, Somali. Then my mom came with me when I was, I think, 1 month, 2 months old, to Kenya. And refugees in Kenya, sometimes they stay inside the camp. Some they move out. I don't know how, but she managed to stay out of the camp, and now they're looking for life outside there. And in that process, she traveled to Nairobi, traveled then to Mombasa, and most Somalis are business people, and so I think she was involving herself into business issue, and maybe I was in the way, and so she looked for a daycare. And in that process, I was left under a luya woman when I was actually very young, 4 months.
4 months old?
Yes, 4 months old. And this woman, what she would do is she was just a simple business woman, would sell mandazi. I don't know what you call it here in Uganda. Yeah, some future parties and things like that. And so she would take care of kids to add more income. And so my mom left me there with her and came after every month. She would come. So the end of the 4th month, she came. The 5th month she also came, and then the 6th month she came with a white, red ringing doll. When you shake it, it rings. And from there, she never came back again. And so I grew up without knowing my biological parent, but because the woman who took care of me was very poor, and so she needed to take us to school and things like that. And so she approached some organizations to help us grow, religious organizations. So you would assume that for me, she would approach an Islamic institution for help. And they were helpful. They took me to school, they took me to madrasa, and I grew. Yeah, and growing up for me was very challenging, very challenging. Yeah.
So she never showed up, and you don't know what happened to her or whether she's there. She never reconnected with you.
No. She never did, but there were some few Somali communities around our area in Mombasa, Kenya. Some would say they know, some they don't, and everyone continue with life. And for me, the most difficult thing was to actually accept that. One, because I have two identities. I'm not a luya, and again I'm not a Somali. You see, you are raised by a luya woman, but again you were born by a Somali woman. You know, and so even when you hear my name is Joseph Wanyama, you're like, when you put it on the face, it's not the same. It doesn't connect, and it has been a very big problem when I was growing up. And I think many people don't understand identity crisis happen in the youngest ages. I know there are more challenges of sexual identity and all that, but me was more of me as an individual. Where do I belong? You know, yeah.
Oh, so growing up, and so now you go to school, you start school. You're being now educated by Muslims.
Yeah.
So religiously, you were trained as a Muslim.
Yeah, of course, I was Somali. My biological names given to me by my biological mom were Abdul Karim. Those were my names. And I grew with those names until I think I was 7 years old. When now I was like, my mom was a Muslim and left me, you know, and I was bitter, you know, and it had nothing to do with me knowing Christ or something like that. I was just bitter with my mom, you know, because again, you'd go to school. In Kenya, we have subjects called social studies, where you learn about countries and things like that. And in those lessons, you'd be asked, who is God in your language, you know. So because I wanted to associate with lawyers, I would say where is, you know, is the, yeah, it's God, the name of God. And then the teacher will look at me and say, but you're not a lawyer. What is Somali in your language, you know? And so it was very difficult for me. And even walking in my my area, you know, people will call you Waria. Waria is a Somali in other terms in Kenya. And so, like, I don't want to accept I'm Somali, but people see me as one. I also can't be a luya because I don't look like one. Names, you know, and things like that. So it was very difficult going to school. Yeah, I went to Islamic schools. It was very close to my area, the madrasas, and yeah, I learned for a while, until when I was around 12, 13, going to 15 years. I think I was in class 7, 7 or 6, yeah, and I was passing in a field, you know, that's our way to home. And yeah, this guy was preaching, and Makyu, every time I come from school, I go to madrasa or madrasa school, like that. But in that moment, from class 4, actually we stopped, because, you know, organization depend on funding. So when that funding was not that enough to sustain the kids that was being sponsored, they stopped. So you'd go to madrasa, but you wouldn't go to school. And so my mom approached now the Catholic Church, you know. And so from class 4, now I was taken to a new area because it was far from home for studies. And it was Ashanzu Parish, a Catholic school, but sponsored by the Catholic Church. And so there is where I started studying. And there was no IRE, Islamic Religious Education. It was CRE. So I had again to learn Christian religion, you know, education. But what was more interesting was when I was in class 6, going to class 7, and I was around 12, and I was passing, and I had a guy preaching, you know. And yes, learning CRE was just like a subject to me. And even I was just going to church for the sake of that sponsorship, like just going to serve, but nothing important. But when this guy was preaching about Peter and Jesus,
was a crusade kind
Yeah,
of
I didn't know that time it was a crusade. I just knew people are making noise, you know, just like market people. Yeah, and for me, I was not really interested in Christianity that much. I wasn't invested in any religion because I was still a young person. But when I had him talk, you know, as kids you walk, you hit stones on the way, you know, and then stand, waste time listening to what is there, then you go home. And so I happened to listen to him, and he was speaking about this man that was going to be arrested. And his message was simple, it was not that sophisticated. That someone cut off a guard's ear, and the person who was going to be arrested took it and fixed it back. I was like, this man is stupid. You know, you are being helped and you are the same person healing. You know, so it was not connecting to me. But it was also surprising because I have never learned in the other side about that kind of kindness, that kind of payback, a good payback, you know, with kind heart. You know, you don't do revenge, you don't do wrong, you know. And that was my, I think, transformation moment started there. Although I didn't just jump into religion at that young age because I could not make certain decisions on my own. I was depending on different people to eat and live, and even my mom the same, because she was a very poor woman. And by that I started to inquire about this person they called Jesus at that time. And I was asking my mom, so because
was the question to you, and you wanted to find out more.
Yes, I wanted to know, like, who is this guy? You know, yes, I've heard him, but this side I think is a different, is Isa bin Maryam. The other side is Jesus. Could be one and the same person, but have different characteristics. And so I used to ask a lot of questions, and she would tell me, you know, she was a Catholic, and she would tell me a lot of things about this Jesus, and I really fell in love with just from that small story outside there, and the in-depth of what my mom gave me. Then with time, after 3 years, when I was 15, now I was like, yeah, this is what I want. Yeah.
So on from there, you're in school, you're in high school now?
Yeah, I now in high school I wanted to, you know, my mom was Catholic, and so I was so into the Catholic religion and everything. I got baptized before I finished class 8. I served in the church. We call them altar boys. I served in the church for a very long time, and yeah, I grew there with the Catholic priest, and I knew a lot, and I wanted to be a priest. And my much of my formation has been from the Catholic Church. My great growth has been from there. And I know at times we have different views about different denominations, but that was the greatest percentage of my growth as a Christian. And there are many things which are positive I learned from the Catholic Church, my growth and things like that. And so I got even confirmation, in our back, and so I went to a Catholic school so that I can become a priest, and it was called St. Mary's Junior Seminary in Kwale region, you know. And so, yeah, but being there, then I got to, like, you know, I wanted to be like that guy who was making noise at the field.
You want to be a priest at the same time? Okay.
Yeah. And my mom was a very open-minded woman. She would go to crusades which are arranged by Presbyterians, Pentecostal, and all that, because she believed if you're preaching the right word, it doesn't matter, you know. And so she would go to those crusades, and I think those are the things I got from her. Sometimes I usually say I'm a reflection of my mom. So she was not that just, and she was a charismatic woman in the Catholic Church. And so charismatic women or men in the Catholic Church believe in the power of the Holy Spirit. And so I think that's she got me in the charismatic group, as young as I was, and so I was more of a Pentecostal than what other people think in the Catholic Church, or the perception that people have about the Catholic Church. And so from there, my growth began. In high school, I found it difficult because I wanted to do some things that I've learned from the Catholic charismatic people, and it was difficult. And so problems developed. It looked like I didn't want to follow the rules. I didn't want to do this, to do that, and so I opted to go to I opted to go to a different school because I actually differed a lot with the with the priest that was there. The former priest who was there was very good understanding, but the one who came in later, we differed a lot. And so, and as a young teenage boy, you know, we are so like, we even don't know how to address what we really want, you know. So we are more of harsh in what we want, and things like that. We do not know actually what to say. Sometimes we want to communicate a good thing, but we do not have the right words or the right way, and things like that. And so I left that school, went to another school called St. George's, and there is where I joined the CU. Yeah, and from there, I grew at age 16, I think. Yeah, my journey started there, and I was more. I actually did not know much, but I just got what that guy was preaching there, and I started
building on that.
Yeah, building on that. Yeah, and my evangelical movement started like that. I started preaching in the CUs. I went to testimony school, and I was preaching like every day. And you know, and this is what maybe many people would not know. Sometimes people go to schools, they study theology, you know, but for a person like me, I had not gone to. I was still young. I was still in high school, and so much of the times I would listen to somebody and then copy paste what they say, and yeah, and that's how my growth developed. I got baptized again, you know, Pentecostal.
Oh, the same now you should I call it, you gave your life to Christ then?
Yeah, because in the Pentecostal world we believe in the, you know, so, and I did those processes and wanted to start my journey in a different way. Of course, I spoke with my mom, but this in the same way, I still kept up with the Catholic people, you know, good relationship with the priest and things like that, because they gave a huge part of my Christian life from there. And so those were heavy decisions to make at a young age, but my mom was supportive, and they said for she believes that the direction of God is always the right one. And so as a teenager, of course, yes, we can say you received Christ and you're good, you've been in the church. But for me, it was not that easy, you know. I faced difficulties like any other youth. You know, identity crisis was very huge, you know, growing up.
Say more about that identity crisis, people judging you. Say more about how it made you feel and how confused you more, and what it was like in society. I would want a Somali out there, an Indian, or anybody that finds themselves in an environment where they don't look like all these other people, and they're being judged, they're being placed where they don't know who they are. Saying more about that.
Yeah, identity crisis was a big part of my slowing so many things about me. My education, you know, you don't learn well because you think a lot. What if my mom was here? What if I had my people of my same looks, you know? Would I be judged like this, you know? Yes, I had a very loving woman, outstandingly loving, luya lady, but it was not enough to cover the criticism and the isolations I faced and the frustration outside there. And yeah, you know, many people will judge you because of how you look. And especially back then in Kenya, you know, Somalis are known for for disruption, you know, bombing and things like that. So when they see you, they just already judge you, you know, and some don't even want to get close to you. Security people would want to check you over and over again, you know, and you're like, man, you just checked that person once and he passed, but for me you have to check a million times, you know. And somebody might not say I'm discriminating you, but the actions would show it. How you are treated in supermarkets, in fact in churches. Church was the worst place for me. Yeah, it was the worst place. In fact, sometimes we would say people don't want to go to church, but what they receive from those who are termed to be Christians is worse than the people outside there. Because going to church for me was very difficult for almost 2-3 years, you know, because I would go to a church and they would chase me. You know, this is not an area for Somalis. You know, you guys would come and be friendly to us, and then at the end of the day bomb us, you know. And I think that is one of the biggest part that causes even more people like me wouldn't want to be Christians, because you already face rejections. People isolate you, they even frustrate you even when you're in the church, you know. And so as a young person, I encountered all that. And now, apart from my looks and the identity crisis I had also personal and normal, or rather common, problems that every other young person would have. You know, while growing up, you have emotions, you have feelings, you want to do this, but then you say, I'm a Christian, you know, so you're kind of unbalanced. And then when you don't find the right people, for me, I was lucky to have right people. I wouldn't be in this show and say, I made it, the power of the Holy Spirit and all that. I was young, I didn't know much. I didn't know, I wasn't spiritual. You know, some people would want young guys to be too spiritual. It's not reality most of the times, you know, because you'd want to associate with the same group, age group of viewers and things like that. And so for me, it was difficult to balance between Christianity and secular things. It was difficult because I wanted both of them. I want to be in church on Sunday, but again, I want to have a taste of jumping here and there, having
us and you people out there.
yeah. And even though I was in church and I was that vibrant young teenager, but I also faced common challenges that any teenager would face. And it was, I would say today, I say it was good that I went through that, because it makes me understand even other young people who are at that age now, because I would not rush and judge them. And today is more difficult for a young person to relate with an elder one, because elders would want you to be straight. And you know, even when you get saved, you're saved today and people would expect you to be upright, you know. But for me, I believe it's a process, one step at a time. And that's why I say to every other young teenager outside there, young person, don't come to Christ when you're okay. Come when you have those, when you are worse. Don't mind about people. It's a personal relationship. You come just as you are, with your problems, with your difficulties, with what you're fighting against, be it whatever, you know, any kind of addiction. Could be different kind of addiction. And at that time we had also ours. And I know people respect, this guy was saved when I was young, so he had a good. No, it wasn't. Somalis were full of anger issues. It was always there. And at times, even now, when you go deeper, you'll still find that anger person still there. But you know, sometimes when you grow with people who have truly, who have truly actually understood Christ, and they want to help you, they want to help you grow. And some people, which this I think is was key for me, we don't only learn from the Christian community. There are also other people outside there in the society who have good values, you know, and they can teach you some good things. They do not have that aspect of Christianity, but they have some good things that they teach you, and when you get to grow, they become very vital for you in your life. So for me, understanding myself was difficult. Even today, sometimes explaining to somebody who I am is confusing, because I'm not, I'm neither, and sometimes I like to relate myself with Moses. Moses was neither an Egyptian or an Israel. So for me, I think as young people, we need to accept the fact that we'll reach those levels of not understanding who we are, our sexual orientation, your identity, even your name, you can't relate with it, you know. But in the midst of that confusion, where does your strength come from? That's the biggest question you have to ask yourself. I don't know where your strength will come from, but mine came from Christ. You know, mine came from Christ. I depended on Him. I sought help and knowledge and wisdom from people who have known Christ, and part from other people, you know, from the community, and I think that was vital for me. I stay in an area where it's full of drugs, a drug zone. Even now, if you go and Google Mombasa Kisauni, you'd know it's known for gangs, for prostitution, for drugs, and all that. And I was in the center there. We grew there. Most of those that we grew with are totally into drugs, are totally dragged into drugs. They don't know what to do now. They are too addicted. Some of those I grew in the daycare, or rather the orphanage. One of them, who I call my brother, is in the rehab, trying to help him, you know, and it has actually, in fact, when our mom passed is when now he went into it too much, you know.
So this mother who took you on, she also passed on?
Yeah, she passed on last year, February. And that was the most devastating moment in my life, I could say. Me not growing with my biological mom is nothing compared to that. That was, I think if that did not break me, I don't think if there's something else which can break me, because that was the point I was asking God so many questions. You know, what, you know, I would use words like, what the hell, you know, who do you think you are, you know, and even I would now go back to the beginning of times and ask him, you know, you caused everything, like you allowed this Satan to mess us, and now we are here. You should have just killed this guy, and we live a good life. And so for me, it was the moment that totally broke me. And okay, for me, it found me when at least I have grown in the word, and I had people who were praying for me every single day. I had a community that didn't have much, but was supportive emotionally. Even the Muslim community, you know, we lived with the Muslim community. They embraced us in that time of difficulty. Our friends from different denominations came, you know, and they helped me, like, take my mom to the rural area, bury her. Yeah, and I had different support from different people, from the CTM community, from Dr. Brad, from other many people. I can't start mentioning one by one. There were so many people from different places, and that was what was so important, was I think them praying for me, because even
more prayers.
Yeah, because even if finance would come in, do this will help you do this, but I was still very, very down, and I really got slim at that time. And I like relating to Moses that time, that when he was praying and his hands were tired, you know, they brought him a stone to sit on, and two guys supported his hands to continue praying, and the Israelites won the fight. And so my question would be to anyone watching today, that who are those people holding your hands when you're weak? You cannot work, you cannot do this. And for me, my mother going, I think there was a time I called you and called many people to speak to them, because I felt like it's done, you know. Yeah, and I think it was the time that I wanted to know, like, why. There were questions I was asking God, why, but at the end of the day, I think I cannot question God. Yeah.
Now, I would like to know, you are you are Somali, in, of course, the way you look, and you are preaching Christ. Didn't the Muslim community kind of clash with you concerning that? Would like to hear.
It's a common thing. I don't think if I'm the only person who has actually faced that. I think we have some quite few people from tribes or communities that are not really thought that they're supposed to receive Christ, and they face rejection from their communities. Others face death and things like that. For me, I think I was lucky under God's arm, you know, because many are the times that I would not be accepted. So it's very difficult for me to say that it's only the Muslim community that did not accept me, but even the Christian community, you know. So I was torn apart, like, yeah, these guys, I've chosen Christ, so these guys have already excluded me, and coming to this guy, they are not embracing me. So I'm just there. I just said 2 to 3 years I was nowhere, you know, staying out of church, begging to get in and listen to her. And I would be given some meters, you know, stay there, if you want to hear, you'd hear, you know. And for those moments, I just felt like we really don't have Christians, because my mom would tell me a definition of who is a Christian, and even from the life that she lived as a Catholic woman, yeah, I expected others to be the same. She was loving. She took care of Somalis, Chinese, Koreans, people who are not her blood, and she loved us like daughters and sons. And so I thought that Christians are like that, only to find out they even do not have the reflection of Christ. And so for me, I felt that pain. It's a pain that has caused me so much. And today I preach Christ with fire, because I want people to know that, yeah, they're true Christ. You know, don't look at someone's personal life. Don't look at someone's lifestyle, characteristics, and things like that. The best example, the best person you can emulate is Christ alone, you know. And so it's high time people read scriptures on their own, you know. I think that's the biggest failure we have as a Christian community, because we do not know the word. People come and cheat us with miracles, with dramas and comics in church, you know, and we think that is Christian. No, Christianity is all about the cross, salvation, you know, and Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And so yes, for me, I faced that a lot until today, you know. I still face that, but I have chosen to accept that, and I just convinced myself that this is a worthy course. Whatever it cost me, it's worthy, and I'm actually ready for it. And yeah, in my way, I have not found so many supportive people, but having Christ with me is all that I wanted. And so it doesn't matter the process I go through, but I know what is at the end of this promise, you know, and that is what is my focus. The trouble will come, challenges would come, and they are coming and they have come. But I think I find my comfort in Christ, not in people, not in anything. And I believe Christ will give or bring people to me to help me grow in the Christian life, to journey with me, those who he wants them to come into my life. And some he brings them for a moment and they go, because just like scaffolding in the building, it's meant to just keep the building, and sometimes it's taken out. So for me, I thank God for the journey. It has been painful. It has been painful. I still have scars, but I have actually grown from that, and it has really taught me a lot. That tomorrow, I think if somebody hears me, sees me, would actually really feel that, yeah, there is Christ in him. You know, how I walk, how I talk, how I relate with people, how I live my life, how I stay with my brothers and sisters, and how I actually preach Christ outside there. It shouldn't be about money, shouldn't be about fame and things like that, but to glorify his name. And that is my big desire, that tomorrow this Christ will be heard in my community, that I will be able to reach my community in a large number and tell them that Christ is the truth, Christ is the way, and Christ is the life. And for me, challenges have been there, will come, but just as I said, it was not from one side, it was from both. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's something you told me about, kind of a kidnap. Tell us what happened. Why do you think it happened?
Yeah, when I started preaching in the markets and going around, I was more vibrant in 2000 and 2016, 16, 17, you know, and so when I was at home and I was walking in the market, it's just the nearest market after town in Kenya, and so when I was walking on the sides of the road, these guys came with a car, you know, and they just, you know how a car comes very fast and stops just in front of you, and somebody opens the doors and takes you in. Man, yeah, and when they are taking me in, so I stopped, like, you know, they're pushing me in. I'm refusing, I don't know you. And guys were like, what are you doing? Says, no, this is our brother, because they look like me. This is our brother, he's mad, you know. Yeah. He's mad, like his brain is not working. Okay, he has a mental issue. So people were like, ah, yeah, that's, yeah, they're helping him, they want to, so we are taking him home. And you look at the guys, they're dressed well, it's a good car, it was a Benz, it's a very good car. And so they took me in, and so my foot was outside. Until today, I have a problem with my foot. My right foot always like swells, you know, like that. And so they were banging the door to close it, but my leg was outside. I was refusing. Yeah. And I wasn't stronger than them, but I don't know, it just my foot was there. So as the car was really moving fast, there was another pro box behind. So it was like, I think the guy was looking and trying to see what's happening. Yeah. And he kept on hooting and putting the lights, you know, flashing the lights. And those guys were like, okay, we were almost, that way leads to a certain police station, then you pass it. So when he kept on hooting and flashing the lights, they threw me away as the car was. Yeah. And so I broke my leg. I was taken to Coast General Hospital. They said, no, we can't work on you, go and get a P3. We went to.
Some people helped you from there.
I know I was there. Then a certain gate man saw me and so called. There was a Catholic sister. It is a residential of big people, and I think it was a bishop's residential. And that sister came and called a border man. His name was James, and James took me, put me on the border, took me to my home. Now my home started. My mom, they took me to hospital, you know, and they started taking care of me, and my leg became better. I broke my tooth, which I'm still processing making it, you know, and yeah, and from there I changed schools from Kilifi County to Eldoret.
For fear of those people.
Yeah. It was earlier than 2016, so I left and now went to Eldoret, and from there onwards I've been a low-key, especially to my area. Yeah, but I think I still have a desire to reach my community, because many people are afraid, you know, to reach us. But
in
also
Uganda, actually, the Somali community they have their own place where they stay, they live, they work, their businesses, and for me, I think it's more of a cultural issue. You know, their cultures are totally different from the ones in Uganda. So, but even their isolations, like you said, if they're being discriminated, they choose to also be.
Yeah, because even you guys speaking to us is very difficult. You know, even some people work with Somalis, but speaking to them, having that personal relationship is harder. That's why you find Somalis like to come to a certain place, get a certain region, and then dominate that area and just be in that specific area. Because we are not fond of mixing with people a lot, because they don't understand us, and we are very easy to get mad, you know, and anger issues. We are very fast, and so we choose to relate with people who would really understand us. So, and I think the best way for people, if they want to reach the gospel to them, is by being friends. You know, if you're my friend and we talk from a friendly point of view, it becomes better than when you just come and tell me Jesus. You know, so what? You know,
I must be called to Jesus.
Yeah, by seeing you, I think we are more attracted by actions other than just you telling us a lot of words, because we hear a lot of words from our own places. So seeing how you live, how you relate with us, the love and the affection that we get, you know, then we can actually come and say, okay, you're friendly and things like that. By the way, we value community life. Somalis, we really value community. We are not individualistic. Like you will find Somalis will live in groups. Yeah, in groups. Even in the house, we live in groups. So that for me is key. Tomorrow, anyone outside there who wants to reach our communities is based on friendship. You have to be our friends, get to know us. In fact, get to know the religion that we actually associate with. Then learn about us. Then we can learn about you. You know, because of course, if you tell me, oh, this is, tell me about you. Of course, at the end of the day, you want to hear about me, and that's how it starts. Yeah.
Great. And so now, are you still in school? Are you done with school? Tell us about your life. Oh, how you told us how you came to Christ, and now, yes, that's what is next.
Yeah, for me, school never ends. For me, school never ends. I am actually finishing on my psychology. I am also doing my degree in theology with the Pan-African Christian University, and yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. Studying at the same time. I am a brother and a father to my family, because my mom was everything, and when she died, I had to take up the mantle and take care of my family. So yes, I am now the father and the brother. So I have to jump here and there as I take care of them, and also continue to study, because I believe in knowledge too. You know, so yeah, I'm finishing on theology, I think, this year, sorry, psychology and then theology. I'm still doing it, and yeah, I think maybe if I'm more fond of, after finishing, I do something else. I do something else, because I believe in studies. I believe in education. Yeah.
Great. That is wonderful. I think you have learned something from his story. Your segregation may not be racial, may not be cultural, may not be. It could be totally different. You could be also being uh, confused on many things in your life, but at least he has told you how he's managing to push through. He says he's still facing it today, but he finds his strength in the Lord. He leans on God. And so I would implore you to take on the same. For anyone that is watching us and you would want to connect with Joseph, he's going to mention his number and it will be running on your screen, or his email, whatever he's comfortable to share, so that, like you've heard, he needs support. He's a father and still also a child and still in school. He still needs to be strengthened even in his own life that he needs to live. So if you would want to connect with him and be touched, if you really want to connect with him, we're going to give you his contact, and then you can take it from there as the Lord leads. Maybe you can share your contact.
Oh yeah, my contact is +254 +254 795 687234 +254 795 687234. That's
Wow.
my contact.
Wow, that is great. That is wonderful. This is a powerful man of God. We serve together. He's an evangelist. He's preaching the gospel, and he would badly want to reach his community. And indeed, we know that it is an unreached community. That's why we are so shocked and surprised to hear an evangelist who is of a Somali descent. And so, if you really feel you want to support him even in ministry, please get in touch with him. And so, before you even tell us your final words to a youth out there that is watching your story, how are you coping right now as a young man who is not married? I don't know whether you're engaged, or even if you were engaged, how are you handling what your body demands as a young man who would want a woman? Tell us about that.
Well, I think the more you actually read the word, the more you know how to actually have self-control, especially if you have received Christ. He gives you the Holy Spirit to have self-control. However, that does not stop you from having the feelings. Yes, of course, you'd have those feelings that keeps on boiling in your body naturally as any other person. Yeah, and at some point you might feel I'm getting weak. But just as I said, for me, I do not have any tactics and styles to tell you do this, do that, that will make you have self-control. For me, it's all about Christ. It's all about Christ, and it's him who I run to. Especially, there are times in campus I really feel I want a girl. Yes, I know you. Somebody will say, hey, he's an evangelist. Why does he feel like that? No, I feel it. Yeah, I'm a human being. I boil, I see, hey, she's outstandingly beautiful. And then my head just runs there. Even if you look at somebody and create some things you have already sinned. And so I'm like, no. Please, God, forgive me. I have to, So I think that's why I said my strength comes from Christ. I'll still go back. I know maybe other people have their own tactics and styles, say do this, do that. But for me, Christ is only the solution for me. And that's where I get my strength. That's where I get my self-control. That's where I get my tactics to of course, I speak to girls. I talk to them like, hi, how are you? And things like that. But I tell God, just sustain me in this period so that when the right time comes and the right person comes, I will be able to now do things in a right way, because I would also want a wife that has actually maintained herself, you know. And in maintaining, I don't mean I don't mean a virgin, you know. You might have lost your virginity through different ways before you came to Christ. That's not important. What is important, when you came to Christ, now you are a new thing, you know. And so for me, I would want that kind of a person that has given herself to Christ, and she has now become a new person despite of what has happened behind. And now she is looking also for a man who has sustained her himself. And I think many people outside there, young people, would think like every youth is having sex, you know, like everyone is having sex, everyone is doing it. No, it's not true. Not everyone is doing it. Others are holding on for that person that is meant for them, you know. In our community, we have things like a girl will have to stay a virgin until the day she gets married, you know. And if she's not pure, sometimes she's taken back to her community. And, you know, growing with some kind of those values from the community, it gives you the power like to stay. But it's not enough. Still other youths from that, they fail, you know. But that's why I'm saying Christ, the help of the Holy Spirit will help you have self-control, but it does not mean that you'll not have the feelings as a person. Yeah.
So any last words for our viewers and anybody, anything you feel I must tell someone out there watching?
Well, for me outside there, I think I would just say that I know we might be going through very challenging times, challenging situations as young people, as young community. We have so many things today introduced. We have the LGBT community, we have sexual different kind of orientations. Today you don't know who to call a she and who a he, you know, because even now there are rights. If you have to call this person, you have to ask first. There's a lot of confusion, and it's all part of the world. But what is key is, where do you actually cut the line, and how do you cut the line, and who gives you that knowledge to know, you know. The standards of the world keep on changing, but there is one standard that remains the same. It never changes for anyone. Today men will turn to be women, women will turn to be men, and it's part of confusion of what is happening in the society. So my last words for you is that, for me, my strength is Christ. Where is your strength to understand some few things, to actually have your own standards, your own values, your own principles that really matter and form you as a person? And I would say, if you have issues of identity crisis, personal problems and things like that, try and run to Christ and say, you know, I tried him and it has been good. Not smooth, not easy, but it has been possible. So that's my final words to you outside there. Please keep on hold on Christ, and you'll never be the same.
I hope and I really trust that you have learned something out of this story. So even when things are hard out there, you may be also struggling with school fees, and you see your parents are really struggling a lot. He has told you how he has been managing to. It is still a process, but he has managed to do it. Things may not be, the story may not be the same. My story, his story, every other person's story is different. Yours too is different. But you can pick some things from his story, and it builds you, and it makes you an important person tomorrow. Thank you so much for having been with us today. It's been Naomi on the show, and on camera it is Ronnie Mutevi. It's been a wrap. Thank you so much. Bye bye.